President at bottom of the 420th inning. So there's a crack in the bat. It's hit. He's running. He's rounding first. He's rounding second, completely ignoring third base. Oh, he's sliding head first into 69th base with Doug Mellard.
What's up? Welcome to 69th Base, the podcast where I hold idiotic sports analysts accountable for their stupid hot takes. I'm your host, Doug Mellard. Thanks for joining the party. I'm flying solo today, but it is action-packed. It's a real fun one for you. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff, including the All-Star Game and the Slam Dunk Contest, the latest on the Brady watch and the quarterback market in the offseason, the wild and wacky XFL, the Astros fans versus Pats fans, Vernon Davis crying, which is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'll start a new rumor, and much more. But before we get into that, I just want to share something with you guys. Maybe this will split the audience. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I'm just telling you how I feel, okay? Don't at me, okay? But I hated the movie Avatar. That's right, one of the highest, if not the highest grossing film of all time. At the time it was. Couldn't stand it. I thought it was so predictable and cheesy and over-the-top stupid with horrible acting and even worse narration. I actually walked out of it. I actually got my money back. I was with a friend. We were both texting so much because we were so bored and laughing, not because it was funny, but because it was so bad it was funny, that we realized we were texting more than watching. So then one of us texted, "You want to leave?" And the other was like, "Yeah, absolutely." We walk out of there. We get our money back. The manager's like, why do you want your money back? And I straight up said, because this movie is bullshit. And they laughed and they gave me my money back, both of us. So that was great. But anyway, can't stand it. I thought it was just overrated garbage. And sorry if you loved it. But good news if you did love it. Bad news for me. But the other day, I looked up an actor on IMDb because it was bothering me what I knew him from. And on his IMDb page, I knew this was coming, but it was just shocking to see it on this IMDb. But this guy, I can't even remember his name right now, but he's gonna be in the next 5 Avatar films, or I guess Avatars 2 through 5. And I saw that and was just like, oh God, man. What a mistake. I don't think it's going to have the same commercial success as the first. B, it's so far away from the first one. What are you even doing? But I was just like, oh, God, there's going to be 4 more? I knew there were several sequels coming, but I didn't know they were coming this close to now. I was just kind of blown away by it and thought, oh, man, I would rather sit through all of those films that I hate so much 1,000 times in a row, back to back to back to back to back, than to play Tecmo Super Bowl on Sega Genesis with Skip Bayless. And I love Tecmo Super Bowl. Ain't that the truth, though? You know what I mean? I'm not spitting lies here, guys. I tell it like it is. Yeah. Oh, boy. Another story to share with you guys. You know, like I always do a little story time up front. And, a lot of times there's a guest on here and they react to it. So I'm going over, I keep a little story bank for future episodes to kind of pick from. And that's always growing. But, while I was sitting here thinking about a story, I'm also thinking about, what's a story that's good to tell when I'm alone? And this is a story that would be funny to have someone react to. But it's just so much sadder if I tell you guys this story with no reaction from another human, because it's so humiliating. And last week's was pretty fucking humiliating, but here it is. So I got to I had my name thrown in the mix for the show The Gong Show, which I don't even know if it's still on. It was like a reboot or whatever of the old 70s game show. It was back. I was told it was coming back. This was I think when it was first starting. I think Will Arnett was maybe a host or a part of it. Anyway, I was my name was thrown in the mix as a comedian. And a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, threw it in there, which is always nice. You know, you throw your friends' names around to try to get them all different kinds of work in the comedy field. And so a producer reached out, and they liked our conversation over the phone. We had a nice conversation. That brings in a second producer. We have a Skype meeting. They're trying to get a feel for my personality. Again, I've been told it's because I'm a comedian. My friend that gave my name up to these people is a comedian. I'm excited to be a part of it. It's like not. It's not like the thing that you would put at the top of the list. Like, this is gonna be my big comedy credit. Finally, it comes to like getting down to the nitty gritty. They need a tape from me, and I'm like, sure, I'll send you some stand up right away. But they're like, oh no, we've got enough stand up. We need something different. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you have in mind? And they were like, well, asking me these weird questions, like bizarre talents that I have. And I'm like, I mean, I didn't say it, but I was like, I can fart on command pretty much. And they were like, I'm not going to say that in the meeting. I wish I had now. But I'm blanking. I didn't know. I really thought they were just going to have me on to tell jokes. So when I'm put on the spot, I'm like, oh, man, I don't have any weird. I'm not a magician on the side or whatever. So we go back and forth. I'm like, what do you guys think? I was like, I'm open to suggestions. This is the suggestion that they have. They tell me, they're like, what if you did some one-liners? You're like telling jokes. Wow, you're on a pogo stick. And in my head, I'm like, I hate it. But out loud, I was like, I love it. I don't know why I said that, but I was like, sure. And then they were like kind of on the fence about that, but then they were like, oh, how about the other producer, I think, jumps in. Aside from all that, you're on the pogo stick, you're telling jokes, you're wearing a loud outfit, and on top of that, someone throws pies at you while you tell these jokes. And I was like, oh man, why wouldn't I want to do that? This sounds fantastic. So they're like, all right, get us a tape of you doing that. And I'm like, no problem. Forgot to mention, they had asked, can you use a pogo stick? And I was like, yeah, who can't? And I was like, yeah, I had one when I was a kid. And I did. I think we did have one when I was a kid. In my head, I remember it being very easy. But I don't have one as an adult. Sorry. I just don't have one laying around. I know all of you at home are like, why don't you? We all have 4 at home. Well, I didn't have one laying around, so I had to drive to a Walmart, and Walmarts aren't in abundance in Los Angeles. But I did see they have them online. It was the only place I could think of. So I have to drive like 40 minutes to find this Walmart, and on the way there, I am spaced out because I'm approaching this light, and there's this weird left turn, and I just zone out because I am thinking, what am I doing for this show that I'm not even that stoked? Like it would be fun. I had a plan where I was going to get on and kind of like be way over the top and just try to like be as bizarre as I could and take it over as much as I could without being a total jerk. That was my plan. But on the other hand, I was just like, this feels weird. What, I'm going to be jumping on a pogo stick while somebody throws pies at me and I'm wearing a cape or whatever, which I was wearing in the video. And so I'm like zoned out thinking about like, this is what it's come to. And while I'm thinking that, I hit a car. I hit a brand new, what was it? It might have been a Corvette. I feel like it was even nicer than, it was a nice, brand new. I think the guy said he had it for like a week. This guy gets out of his car. I don't like smash it. But I definitely scratched the hell out of it. He gets out of his car. He's screaming at me. And I'm just expecting him to beat the shit out of me because that would be the cherry on top of this situation. And I was just like, look, man, I'm having a weird time. I zoned out. It's 100% my fault. I'm sorry. I was so apologetic. I was just so brutally honest. I wanted to just be like, man, somebody's going to throw pies at me while I tell shitty jokes. And I feel like that would have cleared the air. He would have been like, I'm sorry. Why don't you take my car? But I didn't say that. He eventually calmed down. We straightened that out. But you know how a wreck goes with insurance. It's a headache for, a couple months or whatever. Not fun. So I still have to go get this pogo stick. I get the pogo stick. I bring it home. I immediately try it out to remember, see if it's just as easy as I thought. It is not. It is very difficult for some reason. I don't know if as I get older, my balance is worse or what, but it was a little bit of a challenge. You can do a couple jumps, but to keep it going for a while, really hard. To keep it going while you're telling jokes, even more difficult. So, I practiced a little bit, and earlier I think I skipped to it. I sent them a video of me telling jokes. I had to practice and practice me telling jokes. I just set the camera up by myself, me in an alley telling jokes on a pogo stick, and I send it to them. They're like, "That's not enough." They upped it to the pie. So then I have to get somebody else involved. Hey, I call another comedian buddy. Will you throw pies at me while I tell jokes? And they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I fill them in. They are laughing hysterically. It was my buddy MK Paulson, who's been on for a second on here. He's so funny. He was just like, "Oh man, this is absurd. Of course I will throw pies at you while you tell jokes." So I ended up, we go to the back alley behind my apartment, and he throws pies at me while I tell these stupid jokes, and it's just so humiliating. And by pies, we just filled up little tin, pie tins with shaving cream, and I'm just like, what is this? And it's this ridiculous video. I'll see if I can find it and load it up, and you guys can go to my YouTube and check it out. It's so stupid. But I send that to them. I ended up having to send these producers, I think, 5 videos. Every time I was like, not good enough, not what we're looking for. So I have to practice the pogo stick harder, get more pies thrown at my face. I'm just laughed at by my friends that have to help. And I end up going to a decent amount of trouble and getting in a car accident. And in the end, I don't get the gig. I do all of that. And then I just, after a while, it fizzles out. I don't hear from him. And I'm like, cool. That was neat. That was a neat showbiz experience I just had. All that, and I don't even get it. I just feel like the smallest human being. What is my life? Oh, boy. Oh, good God. So, the next time you're really down, just picture that. On some level, you're going to laugh for sure. So weird. That is one of my favorite bizarre showbiz stories in the last few years. I'll try to find video, or at the very least pictures. I know they're out there somewhere. Oh, boy. Welcome to my life, guys. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Comedy's cool sometimes. All right, guys, let's dive into the sports world. It was it's crazy, man. I'm such an NFL fan, and I think that's what most sports fans, that's what people gravitate towards the most. Sorry if you're not a huge NFL person, but I think you see it. That's what the NFL goes on, even when it's done. It's crazy. It's just still dominating headlines. But for this podcast, for the sake of this podcast, what's funny is, I'll dig up Skip Bayless tweets and stories and all that, all those idiots and their takes. And apparently Skip Bayless was off because football season is over. So I think that's when a lot of those guys will take a little time off. And so people like Rob Parker and such filled in. And, Rob Parker, of course, filled in by saying, LeBron sucks. Meanwhile, apparently I checked his social media. Skip Bayless was on vacation. And at one point, he's on vacation with his wife, having a getaway. I don't know where he was or whatever, but there was one night where, I'll check in. What's that idiot tweeting or whatever? And he was just on vacation with his wife, tweeting about LeBron for hours, just tweet after tweet. Can you just imagine, like, that's your life? You have a week off and you hate a guy so much. You're 8 years old, and you're just like, yeah, this is how I'm going to spend my off time. Good God, what a jackass. His wife must have just had such a wonderful vacation. I did see there was a post of him partying with Nelly, rubbing it in that he was with Nelly, with his wife. Pretty cool guy. Real cool guy. Real neat stuff. I did see that when Skip came back, he did. I was like, I'll wait to post the latest episode until he comes back to see what stupid shit came out of his mouth. And he said that the All-Star MVP for Kawhi Leonard was all-time huge. Can you believe that? Like, that's a huge deal, winning the All-Star MVP. And I will say, I didn't watch much of the game, but it was intense and a little bit different vibe. They gave a shit and they fought hard, but who gives a fuck? Like, seriously, who cares? Kawhi winning the All-Star MVP is all-time huge. From the guy that hated Kawhi Leonard for a year and talked nonstop shit. He also, I think he probably does this every year, said LeBron needs to do the slam dunk contest. And he said he owes it to everybody. The fans are owed this, which is just so silly. Who cares? The slam dunk contest is such a, like, I'm still entertained by all that, and I'll watch any sports anytime. Hell, I turned on a cornhole championship the other day for a couple minutes and was like, what is this? And the slam dunk contest, it's still neat. It's still crazy, and you see crazy shit, but it's kind of all been done before. I don't think any of you are going to get mad at me for saying that. I think we've seen all these dunks. I think back in my day when I was growing up, you would see these dunks, and every year it was like, wow, I've never seen that before. And now it's just all been done to where it's like, I'm jumping over this guy that's more famous than your guy that you jumped over. Or I'm jumping over a car, or what. Like, it's just props. It's become the Carrot Top slam dunk contest. So who cares? Why does LeBron... And I also feel like I feel like it is a little weak. Like, Jordan did do it and all that, but at the same time, I think the slam dunk contest was a different thing back then. For years, there haven't been many stars. I mean, Dwight Howard was in it this year, but he's having a little bit of resurgence. But I'm not gonna say he's like a top tier star right now. You know. Anyway, I don't blame him. I feel like LeBron only would have something to lose in that case. But who gives a shit? Also, so many people were saying there's a controversy with the dude teabagging Taco Fall, you know? That he shouldn't have gotten that dunk scored and won or whatever. But he teabagged that dude. That was weird. Teabagged the back of his neck. That's strange. And look, he didn't quite clear the guy, but what was he, 7'5", 7'6"? He's still jumping. He still got over him. He still did it. He still dunked it. So let's take a few inches off. That's like at least 7 feet, maybe 7'2" that he cleared. But Skip Bayless, of course, said it was not that impressive. You're not impressed? Can you jump over a person, let alone a 7-foot person? God, I want to see that. I want to see Skip Bayless in the slam dunk contest. How great would that be? Line him up, guys. I want to see it. It's crazy with the NFL season being over. We're diving back into, a little bit into the NBA, of course. But it's funny, like, most of the headlines on these shows and even SportsCenter and shit like that, it's just the Lakers and the Clippers and Zion. And that's it. That's the NBA. And it's kind of sucks. Like, I do love the NBA, but I follow mostly in the playoffs. when they kick up or when it's getting close to. But it is weird where it just comes down to a handful of teams that they concentrate on because the smaller market teams don't have as much of a chance. It's where the free agents go. Although, Milwaukee's been doing it for a little bit, but it's just crazy. Like, I feel like we're just going to hear about the Lakers and Clippers. But I guess it's the same about with football. It's like the Cowboys, even when they suck, we still talk about them. Fucking Patriots, Speaking of football, the Tom Brady watch is heating up, you guys. It's crazy how much we're going to talk about this and hear about this until whatever happens. I'm guessing I think they can start moving players next month. I can't remember the date. Is it the 18th, something like that? It's just the amount of speculation that goes into this prematurely is just so crazy because people so definitively say one way or another where people are going, and that is so silly to me because you have no fucking clue. They don't have any sources half the time, and they're just like, I know for sure Tom Brady is going to the Chargers or whatever, and it's like, to me, it makes the most sense to go to this. We don't know what the fuck is going on in his head, where he wants to go, what his wife is thinking, where he wants to live, if he wants to leave. I still think he probably will stay with the Pats, but in the past week, let alone the past couple weeks, I've heard he's going to stay with the Pats. I heard he's going to stay with the Pats, and the Pats are also going to sign Taysom Hill. I heard he's going to go to the Cowboys. I heard he's going to go to the Chargers. I've heard he's going to go to the Raiders. I've heard he's going to go to Tennessee, the Colts, the Niners, and the Bears. So that's a lot. And Skip Bayless, of course, wants him to go to the Cowboys, or he thinks his ideal place that he kind of keeps going back to is the Chargers. Can you imagine that? Like, you're a hardcore Tom Brady fan, and your thoughts are, you know what I think would be best for that guy, his best chances of getting a Super Bowl? The Chargers. Nothing ever goes wrong with the Chargers. Nothing. Ever. They've won so many Super Bowls in the past. Let's send him there. Nobody ever gets injured. Never. It's never happened on their. Plus, there's tons of eyes on them. Their fans are very loyal. Oh, boy. I just think that's such a bad idea. And my dog Penny agrees, so you could hear that. Where do you guys think he's going to go, huh? What do you think? Again, I still think he's going to stay with the Pats. But I am lobbying that he goes to the Bengals. How great would that be? Just out of the blue, Tom Brady signs with the Cincinnati Bengals. He has this big press conference, and he's just like, after a lot of thought, careful thought, I just thought my best opportunity to win is here in Cincinnati. I'm moving on to Cincinnati. And then he steps in, and he gets annihilated immediately. And he goes 0-16 and calls it a career. Or he goes to the XFL. God, how great would that be to just catch everybody completely off guard? Tom Brady signs with the Seattle Dragons. And people are like, what in the fuck? And he gets injured 2 plays in to practice after an interception. Seriously, I want to know your thoughts on where you think he's going to go. It's so bizarre. I can't wait to see where he goes, who the first domino is. I wonder if it's Cam Newton. Who's the biggest one? I don't know. There are plenty of other rumors running around. One is that Phillip Rivers is going to go to the Colts. It's Rivers going to the Colts. Brady's going to the Colts. Everybody's just plugging him into quarterbacks and quarterback-needy teams. But how do we fucking know who's going to go where? I also heard Tyrod Taylor is going to start for the Chargers. Anthony Lynn said he'd be fine with it. I like Tyrod. I like him a lot. But and honestly, would make a little sense as him with a bridge quarterback. He did it for the Browns, if you remember that. Seems like years and years and years ago, but that was recently for Mayfield, right? But that would make some sense, and then they don't have to spend money. Good Lord, this is going to be such a nutty offseason. I can't wait. I also heard Mariota to the Chargers. Can you imagine after having Phillip Rivers, who some people say is a Hall of Famer and has a kick-ass bolo tie collection? Can you imagine after 17 years of that, selling to your fan base, Marcus Mariota? We're turning over a new page, and Marcus Mariota is our guy. And I'm sure that means with also drafting a young quarterback, but that still would just be such a like, wait, we got rid of Phillip Rivers. Why? For Marcus Mariota to play a game and a half and not do well? Okay, cool. Not sure if you saw it, but also Matthew Stafford. There's a rumor that he was going to be on the trading block. But the GM or the coach, I think it was the GM, immediately said, or the owner, somebody was like, nope, completely false. Which then is it like, are they leaking that out there to get people to think they're interested in a quarterback in the draft? Or is this all just a bum story? This time of the year is wacky, guys. It's so crazy. But, if you really look into it, Matthew Stafford leaving makes no sense. I don't think they could get rid of his contract. The math on it just is bizarre. Like, there's just no way that's even a possibility. Although, I don't know. If there was a team, if they were going to put him on the trading block, there's going to be some team that's going to take him. Although, in this quarterback market, who knows? Oh, also, guys, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, you heard it here first. That guy's on the market. But Matthew Stafford, what's weird, when that rumor went out there, he was just getting ripped apart and people saying like they should get rid of him. He's just the worst quarterback. And I don't know, man. I don't think he's the best, and sure, I don't think he's won a playoff game and all that, and he's only been in like 1 in 10 years or something. But how well is that organization run? And when has he ever had any kind of any help on any side of the ball? He had Calvin Johnson, so I'm going to shut up. But never has a running game, had a defense like 1 year, but there's always some problem any which way. Horrible coaching for the most part. So I kind of feel for that guy. But I think he stays put. I think it's all bullshit. Also in quarterback news, Jameis Winston had eye surgery, which is a thing that should have happened 5 years ago. And a lot of good jokes going out there about that. It will be curious. What if Jameis Winston now becomes the greatest quarterback of all time after having LASIK eye surgery? I think they said that the coach, Arians, was a little bit concerned about his vision. So, yeah, if you can see where you're throwing it to, might help to not throw it to the other team. That is something to look out for. That's that thing where they want to get him in front of them throwing a ball immediately before they make any decisions. Because what if they really he has that surgery and then 2 weeks later they see him throwing just the sharpest ball they've ever seen and they're like, holy shit, we don't have to do anything in the off season. We've got our guy. But Arians is not. He's been lukewarm on Winston, which, what a weird case, man. He had 5,000 yards, but 8,000 interceptions. But maybe that gets cleared up. But it's sounding like they're open. God, everybody's good. What if just literally every team changed quarterbacks next season? God, that'd be great. I want to see everybody just switch. Just everybody trade with somebody. The Cowboys should get Mitchell Trubisky. Wouldn't that be great? No. Let's not do that. In other news, the Astros issued a sort of apology. What was that? Did you guys listen to that? Good God. What a fucking mess. Look, you did it. You got busted. Just own up to it. That's the best thing you can do in that situation. That's all you can do. But to just go up there and deflect everything. Yeah, it just makes it so much worse, and it just puts the target on you. It's just even bigger. It's just so stupid what they keep doing. What a bad apology, if you can even call that an apology. Meanwhile, I was thinking, like, being from Texas, and the first pro game I ever went to was an Astros game. I'll never forget it. And it was at the Astrodome, the coolest stadium that ever was, at least the coolest name. But being from Texas and knowing so many Astros fans, and me being somewhat one, I'm definitely a fan. I just Rangers first, but Astros were honestly the first team I ever followed. Uh, I just everybody I talk to, I've asked so many friends and family members, like, how do you feel about this being an Astros fan? And they are all just so embarrassed by it, and they're shaking their head. I had my wife's cousin that was just like, I kind of threw all my World Series gear in the way back of a closet. I can't believe this. Fuck them. I don't think anybody's like jumping off a bandwagon or cheering for another team, but they're just, thought it was shitty and weird. But I was wondering, it's just so weird because Pats fans that I talk to, if I'm like, hey, how do you feel about all the cheating scandals? They're like, what are you talking about? It's like, what? Like, I like the Astros fans, just saying, are at least owning up to, like, yeah, it was bad. It doesn't look good. And Pats fans are like, fuck you. You're just jealous. Just thoughts I'm throwing out there. Just observations. But I'm also going to throw out that in regards to baseball, this whole thing, baseball has too many fucking weird kind of rules that really can lead to a lot of cheating. And I wouldn't doubt, just like the Patriots, like there's probably other teams doing all this shit. They just took it way farther. But there's so much gray area in baseball that leads to horrible, stupid shit like this. So not excusing what happened, but baseball, get your shit together. Seriously, what are you doing? Just, is it a rule or not a rule? There's so many things like that where they're like, it's implied, or people know to respect this or that. Like, what? What does that mean? So it is a rule? No, but they know. Everybody should follow that, whatever. All right. Baseball, come on. Get hip. Get with it. Put some tackling into baseball. I guess there is a little bit of that, but put more of it, People collide hardcore at home plate and stuff, but I want to see more tackling. I did watch some XFL this past weekend, just a little bit. So I was hoping to watch a little bit more, but I was kind of running around all weekend. But when I did watch, I was rewarded. I highly recommend watching. It's so weird. I love the amount of access you have to the players. It's great. You're like right up there with them. The interviews are great. I turned it on right when Matt McGloin was asked, what do you guys need to do in the second half? And he's like, we need to change the whole game plan. We are being embarrassed. Oh, man, that was so cool to see that. Oh, wow. Oh, man, nobody's ever... I hope that they just tell all the players, be as brutally honest as possible. But apparently he got benched right after that, so I don't know that that'll be happening again. But I was like, man, is this what these interviews are all going to be like? On top of that, every time I looked up, it was an interception, which was so amusing for some reason. Oh, man, it just... Anytime it changes hands that much, it's really exciting. It's almost more like the NBA, the way it was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I will say, Jerry Glanville was down to one headset, and that was heartbreaking. I turned on the Seattle. I think, no, can't remember which team he's on, but it was his team. And I'm like waiting for them to show a shot of him. And there he is with one headset. And I'm like, what are you doing? The two headsets. Everybody loved it. That's your calling card now. You can't go down to one headset. If anything, go up to 3 to 5 headsets. Double it up. I want every week you got a new headset. I don't know how many weeks are in the XFL. I'm guessing 8 to 10. I want 10 headsets by the end of the season. God, I was so bummed about that. You don't even know. Speaking of being bummed, or at least fake bummed, this is my favorite thing that happened this past week, guys. If you didn't catch Vernon Davis plugging his film on ESPN, Google it right now. It is the best thing that's ever happened to planet Earth. Check it out. There's nothing funnier. Just Google Vernon Davis crying, and there you'll find it. What happened was, if you did miss it, Vernon was plugging this film. He got into acting. He just retired. He got into acting, and he was plugging a film, I think, that he produced called, I think it was called Red Winter, which just sounds like a horrible straight-to-DVD film. And hey, you know what? It's cool that he's trying other stuff and he's trying to find another career. Good on you. It's always a good thing. But he then is pressed by the people interviewing him, like, hey, can you give us a little taste of something? Can you give us like a line from the movie or something? And he acts like he's very thrown off. Like, whoa, he says, like, I wasn't. You guys put me on the spot. But the way it goes down, he clearly was not put on the spot. It was all predetermined. I'm sure he had a manager or an agent that was like, hey, we're going to showcase your acting skills, okay? Here's how we're going to do it. They're going to ask for a line from the movie, and you're going to deliver. And so they ask for him. He's like, whoa, you guys put me on the spot. And then he just starts crying, but it's not crying. I don't know what it is. Anybody could do it. He's and then he comes back to being normal, and he just kind of looks at him like, right? Did I just nail that or what? Where's the Oscar? Where's my Oscar? Give it to me. He just looked so proud, like, man, how hard did I crush that right now? And they were just like, oh, man, where did you go? I didn't know that was Vernon Davis anymore. I thought you were your character from the movie. And I don't know how they kept straight faces. I mean, wow, they were the better actors in that scenario. I did, on the one hand, feel bad because Jamal Adams and others were retweeting this clip and just like making fun of it. He was getting crushed on the internet because it is so funny. But at the same time, man, it really was so just strange, and I'm sorry. It's just funny. It's just funny. Just please watch it. Oh, God. It made me like uncomfortable, but also I cannot stop laughing at it. And I'm probably going to revisit that clip multiple times for the rest of my life. You know, a few times every month from here on out. So be sure to check that out. Also, I'm going to try to edit that clip. So look for a weird mashup of that, possibly. I'm going to try to have some fun with that of some kind. It's too much to not mess with. You're welcome. If you haven't seen that Vernon Davis clip, check it out. Be sure to find it as pause this. Go to that right now. Guys, it is time to start a new rumor. And here it is. This week, I'll just say I've been watching on HBO Stephen King's The Outsider. Some of the episodes are directed by Jason Bateman. If you're not watching, I'm not even a horror guy, but it got me sucked in. I am loving it. It's so good. And so I was randomly, because I was watching it. I'm not super familiar. I saw, It as a kid, and I don't think I've ever read any of his books, but I've seen some of his stuff. Saw the new It's, and over the years, The Shining, of course. I actually just watched Dr. Sleep. But I'm very familiar with his work, but I was just doing a little like dive on Stephen King out of curiosity, and did a little mini wormhole research thing on him. Just was curious about Stephen King a little bit. And when I was doing that, I discovered that when Stephen King was a kid, he was neighbors with Skip Bayless growing up. And not a lot of people know that, but that's mostly because Stephen King doesn't want to be associated with him, But in a recent interview, he dropped that, and he actually said that all of his horror stories are inspired by the torment he felt growing up next to Skip Bayless. It tortured him so much that the ideas just like began to flow out of him. It was just so easy when you get to live next to a walking nightmare. So, hey, there's that factoid. Isn't that crazy, guys? Yeah, thought that was really interesting. Nothing's scarier than his hot takes. I guess I just plugged The Outsider. Check that out on HBO. Also, McMillions. Good God, if you're not watching that, holy shit! The docuseries on the great Monopoly McDonald's giveaway heist, basically. Oh man! By the way, on McMillions, if you have seen it, there's no way you didn't pay attention to it. But the names on there, holy shit! They're like, there was a guy on there named Gilbin Peoples who worked at the Dittler Brothers. Of course, a redneck. Hi, everybody. I'm Gilbin Peoples, and I work for the Dittler Brothers. That sentence right there is great. And there's another guy named Gurnal Scott. Gurnal and Gilbin. What a fantastic duo. Can't wait for the next episode just to see what other names are going to be brought forward. That's honestly the most... That's what I've been drawn to the most. Like, as fascinating as the heist is, the name's way more fascinating to me. But I do have some real plugs. I'll just plug this coming up. Oh man, the end of next week, I will be in Austin, Texas, at the Velveeta Room, the 28th and 29th. Shows Friday the 28th at 9 o'clock. The 29th on the big leap year day, 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Would love to see you guys out there. Come on out if you can. It's going to be a fun one. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Peace.
69th Base with Doug Millard was recorded in front of a live studio audience presented by Hormel Chili Radio Productions.